Nice little vehicle. Home for the next 2 weeks. In the middle of the night last night, I could swear I heard something. Mike here from Trillium Hikes with another edition of the channel and another video. Today what I like to do is, since I had a bit of an off day in terms of my vacation, I wanted to bring to you my accommodations for the next almost 2 weeks. That is an RV camper or a camper van, however you want to describe it. It's not really a full-sized motorhome in terms of, being a block long or anything. Anyways, so what had happened was my Great Divide Trail hike with April, aka Rootless Wanderer, came to an epic fail and ended up having to be canceled. And then after a few days of kind of exploring around, we ended up parting ways amicably. There was no issue there whatsoever, but she ended up going home to deal with some stuff, and I wanted to enjoy some of my vacation time. So anyways, long story short, I rented this RV. I looked into a few companies, and the cheapest one that I could find for the duration and had the features that I was looking for was through a company called CanaDream. And I want to start things off first of all by saying this is not sponsored. I'm not being paid in any way, shape, or form for this. It is strictly a review of what vehicle I ended up renting. So by all means, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, please leave those in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. So as you can see, I'm currently inside. I'm going to take you outside first, just to show you what the van actually looks like, give you an idea as to the sizing, and then we'll come back inside for a more detailed tour. Okay? Stay tuned. Still with me, folks? Let's head out the coach door. And so this is going to be passenger side view. Now, the one thing I will say about the CanaDream is that most of them have an awning equipped, but they're all disabled. Why they just don't remove it outright, I couldn't tell you. We have a really nice window. Actually, both windows, the small one on the passenger side and the big driver's side window, offers really nice cross breeze. This compartment will hold, miraculously, a tire iron and nothing else. So a little bit of external storage, if you like. We also have an external set of electrical outlets. This is the exhaust for the propane stove and convection oven. I don't have to tell you what that is. And of course, exhaust. We also have another compartment here. So this is your Sani dump hose, and the coupling is on the other side of the vehicle. Spare. And here we can actually see the slide in its out position. So you do need to run the engine in order to actually run the slide mechanism in or out. And naturally, you need to make sure that it's home all the way before you start driving off anywhere. This is a conduit for electrical in case you have a campsite that has service. And for the internal electrical system, I just haven't really had a need for it, so I left it alone. You have a hose for freshwater refill, and then of course the electrical cable for hooking up at a campsite. And here we have the conduit for black and gray wastewater fuel. And I'm just gonna watch my head here. This we have is for the hot water tank. That back. Another city water connection, fresh water intake. This is propane valve and tank, so in case you do run out. And behind here is a generator, which is also equipped on most of the RVs that CanaDream offers. Nice little vehicle, made by Ford. That's it for the exterior. Now for the interior. Well, hey there folks, and welcome to the home office of Trillium Hikes. The reason that you're seeing me here and in this environment is, unfortunately, there's a setting that I later discovered on my DJI Action Cam that when you are using the front display and taking video, it only records the last 5 minutes of the video. So, needless to say, all of the recording that, or actually the majority of the recording that I did for the interior of the RV that I rented was lost. So, luckily, as you see on your screen, CanaDream actually has a 3D tour of the vehicle that I actually rented. So I'm going to take you through this facet of a tour, and then the little bit that was saved or recorded from the interior view that I did while I was actually on vacation will pick up where we leave off here. So anyhow, my apologies, as a couple of people have actually pointed out, it does give me the excuse to rent another RV at some point, possibly giving you an option as to take a look at the conversion van, so the smaller model, which is what I really wanted to do in the first place, and then we can actually see how the two options compare. Anyhow, so what view we are looking at is basically, you can kind of see the passenger front seat here on the left. We are kind of like in the middle of the aisleway and at the very front of the vehicle. And what I wanted to kind of point out was a couple of things here. In the next little segment here, you'll see that there's a vent inside the bathroom, and there's actually a total of 3 in this vehicle, and 2 out of the 3 actually have fans. The third is just a vent, nothing more. So I actually was quite pleased with the amount of cross breeze and ventilation that this vehicle had. So you would have seen earlier that, when I was filming the outside, that there's this like little half window above the sink that opens up. There's this huge window here on the right hand side above the table, and there's also another window that opens up right above the head of the bed. The one in the back does not open. It's strictly a glass plate for viewing. It does not open in terms of giving you that cross breeze, but between the windows and the 3 vents, I actually felt quite cool, and I felt beautiful breezes when they were when the wind was blowing. So it was actually a really nice setup in that regard. So to kind of show you a little bit about all these handles and storage cabinets, there's a ton of storage in this vehicle. This is a little misleading. These 2 handles actually don't open, so you don't really have drawers here. You do have this cabinet under the sink, but again, you do have the bottom of the basin itself that is interfering with things. These are drawers under the benches, so you do have storage there. And then of course you have storage above the sink, above the table, and this wardrobe also opens up much like a double-doored cabinet. You have shelving on the left-hand side and a small hanging space on the right-hand side, and they also give you a few hangers to hang up some stuff there. But what I also wanted to kind of point out is some of the electrical. So as we kind of zoom in on this little job here, first off, this dial here will actually turn on or off the electrical system in the entire vehicle, and this controller will actually show you how well the solar panels are doing. Now, in some of the models, there's an option to extend, rotate, or what have you, those solar panels. Not so in this model. The controls are there, but they basically stay in a static position on top of the roof of the vehicle, but they do provide some excellent information as to whether or not you have good charge, poor charge due to like overcast. The instruction manual will say, well, if it's not really charging, move out of the shade or what have you. There's a lot more to it than that. I've never really had a problem with charging the vehicle, but I also didn't need the stove. I used the fridge, but I didn't use the AC or the furnace, which obviously takes quite a bit of electrical. I never had to plug into one of the campsites that I was at, and the only thing that I really had to do was empty the black and gray water tanks and refill the fresh water tank. And that was really about it. Over the course of the 2 weeks, I used very little propane for the water heater and for the stove. So all in all, I think I did rather well in terms of the consumables. You do have a couple of locking systems here on the door. If I zoom back out here. Now, on the instructional video through CanaDream, they refer to this button area right here in the lower left corner, and that's to control the pullout if it was actually, this section here, which I did not have. So where my table is, that's static, it doesn't move. The only pullout in this super van camper is the bed. And I'll show you the controls if I can get to it on the other side of this cabinet here. But what is really important about this control panel over here are the levels of the freshwater, black, and gray water, as well as turning on the different systems. So number one, you do want to pay attention to these levels for obvious reasons. So obviously the fresh water is going to supply you with shower water as well as the tap in both sinks. The black water is basically sewage. Gray water is basically anything that's coming out of the drains for the 2 sinks and the shower. Most campsites, if not all, that accommodate RVs will have a sani dump, and you can obviously take a look at the campsites ahead of time before you even book your sites, whether or not they have them, whether or not there's a cost. In the locations that I booked through Banff and Jasper, it wasn't an issue whatsoever. I may have had to wait in line a little bit while other people ahead of me were doing the same thing. But in one stop, you can empty your gray and black tanks and fill up your fresh water in the same go. So that's not usually a problem. But when you click on the individual buttons for fresh water, gray water, black water, this display is in thirds, so it'll give you an indication as to how full or how empty those individual tanks are. The voltage meter, I was informed in going through the literature that you really want to keep that above the 9 to 10 volt level, if not higher. And again, using the lights, using the electrical outlets for just charging my phone or my battery banks, it didn't really use a lot, to be honest. But every once in a while, I would run the engine just to give it a little bit of a charge, and that was really about it. Even the daily driving that I did between sites was usually enough to kind of recharge things. Plus, I had the solar system as well working in my favor. So basically, you need all of these systems off when you drive. If I remember correctly, the first one is just electrical in the first place, and then you have gas and the water heater, or the pump rather. So if you need to run any of the systems, you need to basically turn on the main system. If you're going to take a shower or use either one of the sinks, you need not just the pump, but if you want hot water, then you have to turn on the gas for the hot water tank as well. But this is a pretty simple panel, not much to it. The vehicle did come with a fairly extensive manual to review, so do yourself a favor. Don't plan to do much the day of your pickup if you choose to rent one of these vehicles. Take the time to get accustomed to the layout, how it works, all the different features. Sit and read through the manual, and you're going to be better off for it. While we are in this view, you'll actually see that there's actually a plug here as well as a switch for the light underneath the cabinetry. I use this quite a bit, especially for reading or doing my journal notes. There is a remote for the TV. I did try it once, but there was absolutely no signal whatsoever. There is a small entertainment system. So you have a DVD player here up in behind this cabinet, and I will show you another view. There's another couple of electrical outlets so you can plug in any other kind of device for media that connects into the TV. This is also a radio as well. I didn't really pick up too much on the system. Ended up just using the radio of the cab while I was driving more than anything else. And if I kind of go back here, show you the cockpit or the cab. I was quite pleased with the cab. It was very roomy, and I was also able to adjust the seat very easily. I had a lot of room, and again, somebody of my height, like I'm 6 foot, 260, I was able to, find the right position for that chair without any problem. I was very comfortable driving longer distances. Cruise control, mirror control, lots of these pockets for things like maps, drinks. I was able to put my phone, my Garmin I was able to put in here as well. There's a USB-C port in here that I was able to charge my devices on. So all in all, lots of features with the cab itself. And the mirror also gives you view of the rear of the vehicle as well, so you can always see what's going on, and you don't necessarily have to rely solely on the mirrors on the side of the vehicle. So as you can see, also on the bottom of the cabinetry, there's more plugs and a couple slight switches for over the stove, as well as a fan for the stove. Very important that you maintain ventilation if you do use the stove. In addition to that little bucket in the bathroom with the a few of the tools and the towels and the brush and the dustpan, they also give you a barbecue lighter as well, so that you can actually light this gas stove. And it came in handy. I didn't have to really use any of my gear. I did have like a little canister of fuel, which I ended up leaving behind, but I ended up using the propane of the vehicle for cooking. I will be showing the fridge in the bathroom later on in the video. So let's see, here we go. So now from the opposite perspective. So now in terms of the pull-out here, the controls are actually right here to the left of the wardrobe. So one thing that I don't believe I mentioned in the earlier video, but the vehicle does need to be running in order to operate the pull-out. So put it in park, trying to make sure it's as flat of a surface as possible. And then there's basically just a toggle switch to either run the pull-out outward or inward, and basically keep going, just hold it in until it's all the way out and it has either a little bit of a click or it doesn't go anywhere, or any further rather, and same thing on the way back in. Make sure the area is clear both on the interior if you're bringing it back in, or the exterior. Make sure that you're not going to hit any trees or branches or anything else, because you will be liable for any damage to the vehicle. So also an important thing to be meticulous in your initial inspection of the vehicle. You will really want to make sure that you are erring on the side of caution in terms of identifying every scratch, every dent, basically anything on the vehicle that is not already identified, just to protect yourself. So I'm not saying that I had any issue. I didn't. Actually, they kind of fluffed off some of the scuffs actually that I did find in the paint job, but I'd rather be really critical about those things and not have to deal with it on the receiving end than not deal with it up front and run into a bit of a surprise. They do not provide any bedding, so this is just to give you an idea as to what it might look like. There's no dishes that come with the vehicle, although they do offer a package that does come with some things. So in my case, I had everything that I really needed. I had my quilt, I had my pillows and everything else, so I didn't really need anything else, but they do offer little add-on packages in terms of packages of kilometers. There's like a little cook set, there's a dish set, and there's also a linen package as well. Without all those packages, this bed is actually comprised of two sections of kind of like a very comfortable, believe it or not, very comfortable foam, and there's a bit of a angled cut across the middle. So when, obviously this is outside, it's a queen size bed, but when you bring that pull out back in, you just basically grab a hold of the top of the cut and bring what would be the head of the bed up and over the foot of the bed, and then those two pieces just stay stacked, and then you can bring the pull out into the rest of the vehicle. And as for these cabinets up here, I put my pillows in there. I also put my sleeping bag liner in there, my book, And as you can see, there's a couple of pot lights here that that operate. There's just like a little button in the center of the light. So it made it very convenient to, you know, either write in my journal, do a little bit of reading, do a little bit of research, and as you can see, the window opens up here full, and it's a really big window, and even a couple of cup holders. And there's also a USB port right next to the electrical outlet here at the base. Later on in the video, I'll show you how these drawers open up, and you can actually see more of the plumbing and the electrical system. So do not store any food in these drawers. Unfortunately, when I was at the Robson Meadows campsite, I heard a little scratching noise, and sure enough, a rodent of some kind got into the drawers and started nibbling at one of my snacks, which you'll see later on in the video. A little disappointing, a little funny, a little disconcerting in the middle of the night, but all the more reason to use one of these upper cupboards for all of your food, either above the table or above the stove, which I'll also show in the video. And then of course the wardrobe here, it is completely sealed, so you can put whatever you want in there as well. Alright folks, so this is now from the far back of the vehicle looking towards the front, obviously. I did like how they had a couple of hooks here. I usually hung my towel to dry or some other clothes that I had washed, like my pants, my shirts that I had, and I just gave them a little bit of a cleaning in the sinks. And you'll see this vent here has no fan, but it is really handy at night to get some additional airflow. The one towards the center of the vehicle, as well as the one that's in the bathroom, are the ones that have the actual fan you can turn on. But this one is just the vent itself. Make sure that all of your vents are closed before you move the vehicle. Very important. Again, you don't want to be liable for any damage to anything or any part of the vehicle when you bring it back. And here you can see a little bit of that seam that I mentioned about the two halves of the bed. So, you know, what I would actually do is, you know, I stand at the foot of the bed, you know, kind of put my thumbs into that crease, pull the head of the bed half up and over the toe section, and then that way the pullout was ready to go in terms of bringing it back in. What I did like about this vehicle were actually the blinds for privacy. So all of the windows had their own individual blind. Here you can see this one is already pulled down. The one above the bed also has its own blind. The one at the side of the table, as well as the one here above the sink, also has its own blind. So between the windows, as well as a privacy screen that just uses Velcro to attach to these points here, nobody's going to be able to see anything from outside of the vehicle. In terms of the storage cabinets that you see here, the ones on the far sides are like they're just bolted shut. You have zero access to this area here. As for these cabinets, they're kind of deep, kind of narrow. It does provide some additional storage. What exactly you'll be putting in those, it's up to you. But you also don't have access to the rear of that television. So there's other electronics in there that you don't have access to. And the table, which doubles as a small bed. So this is a really bad perspective. Maybe from this perspective we can get a better idea. Maybe, yeah. So this table will be brought down for a flatter surface, so then you just have to manipulate these cushions so that it's all cushioned. But it would be basically for children that were of a smaller stature. Like, you would not be able to fit an adult on this bed here. So even though they label this a vehicle for like a family of 4, it would be like the 2 adults in the back, and there's actually this this pull-out privacy screen, and then this would go down into a small, like, it's not even really the length of a single bed. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower than a double bed, but you can accommodate a couple kids there if you need to. And just while I'm looking at it, there's some additional storage. There's one little drawer right here, right at the side of the bed. And I believe there's also some cabinetry underneath the bed itself, but you're not really going to need that all that much. Plus there's some mechanisms underneath the bed itself that you don't want to interfere with. And ladies and gentlemen, folks, I think that is pretty much everything. All in all, I was very comfortable with the vehicle, and I felt at home for the 2-week duration that I had rented it for. I had mentioned a couple of times that I kind of regretted the choice, as I really wanted to test out the camper van, or the conversion van, I should say. But when I got the upgrade, I looked at it as an upgrade as opposed to a detriment in terms of, you know, checking it out and fuel economy and stuff like that. So it is a great vehicle. I was very comfortable. Would I recommend it? Most definitely. But at the same time, if you have the sufficient amount of space that you need in those smaller models, by all means use them. Hopefully at some point in the near future I'll be able to rent one of those other smaller models, and then we can actually compare the two properly after an experience in both. Anyhow, folks, that is it from an interior view. The rest of the video will pick up, and I can show you the bathroom and the vanity area, as well as some other little tidbits about the rental. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Shower. I'm just going to get rid of this for a moment to give you an idea as to what it looks like. Believe it or not, I actually can fit in there. So I'm 6 foot. Last time I weighed myself, I was about 270. I was actually able to take a shower in there this morning without too much trouble. Obviously, you don't have the same mobility as you would in a standard tub, but I was able to do whatever I needed to do without too many issues or headaches. Again, you need the water pump on, the electrical on, and the hot water system on in order to take a hot shower, which I would recommend over a cold shower. And in terms of the door, it's just this vinyl slide that hooks in. Very, very convenient, doesn't take up a lot of space. And they also give you a little kit here. So I did use one of the towels, but they gave you a few towels for cleaning up, a pair of scissors, a little multi-tool, pliers, a flashlight, dustpan, and brush. So that's quite nice. And then of course the bucket itself in case you need to add water to the septic. And you'll notice that there's 2 switches here. So one is for the light as such, and the other one is for that. And now that it has stopped raining, I can actually open up this vent. There we go. Another vent for the AC system. Okay. And now, hey folks. So to get out of the screen here, I do have a little bit of a problem with this. It seems to be just wasted space. The sink is pretty much useless other than to wash your hands at. I even had a problem kind of brushing my teeth over it, you know, just hitting my head against the mirror there. But the only other thing that you could really put in there behind the door would maybe be, you know, like a thin cupboard of some kind, but that's just me. Some more switches for lights. So there's one for the bedroom area, one for, I guess, the vanity area. You also have some controls for the AC and heat, more electrical. And we have this gargantuan fridge and freezer. What's kind of cool is you have this little device here to swing out to prevent anything from forcing the doors open as you drive. Really big fridge and freezer. Got a few supplies in here. So that's a 4-liter jug of water to give you an idea as to size. So lots and lots of space in the fridge and freezer. And that, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow explorers, is my home for the next 2 weeks and my 2-week experience / experiment with van life. So I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this because I didn't really see this kind of a description on their website, but this is the smallest option. So it's basically a pickup truck with a camper attached. I actually tried to get a conversion van, but with the Saver 2 program, they bumped me up to the super van conversion. So that's what I have right here. So the website will offer a number of things. You can just see what's available, book it right away, go into the office, pay, and you can actually pick up the vehicle the following day. They just need time to get it prepped and brought to the front for you. I will say that you have to be a little cautious about making your plans based on what you think is available. So don't necessarily think that you'll be able to pick it up first thing in the morning, because as you go through that online check-in process, they'll actually stipulate what hour that you're going to be picking it up at. In my case, I wasn't able to pick it up until like about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So needless to say, I lost a lot of time that particular day, and it affected what I had initially planned for my itinerary for my 2 weeks of RV life or van life, you choose. Anyhow, and the same actually goes for the drop-off. They had told me in person at the time of pickup that I could drop it off at around 10 a.m. However, as part of the online check-in process, 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. were the only time slots that were available. So use a little bit of caution, and you don't want to be dinged $75 per hour for late drop-off. So fair warning. There is about an hour-long check-in process for CanaDream as well. So after you've actually paid for your rental, they send you an email, and in that email is a link to actually a couple of things. First of all, some rental agreements and things of that nature, but there's also a series of videos that you have to watch to get yourself familiarized with not just the vehicle, but also, you know, considering that not everybody is from Canada or the US, they also have to stipulate, make sure you drive on the right side of the road. And some other, you know, safety guidelines like don't get too close to the bears because they're dangerous, etc. So needless to say, Canada is visited by, you know, people from all over the world who may not necessarily understand the size or the danger level with some of our wildlife. So CanaDream has addressed at least some of those concerns. Again, this is not a commercial for CanaDream, just wanted to give you a heads up as to what to expect if you decide to rent something from CanaDream. This is just an addendum to my tour of my camper van, and this is two things. First of all, if you are looking to design your own, so if you've bought like a Sprinter or some other kind of like high ceiling van that you're going to be converting, or if you're actually renting, or if you've purchased your own RV or camper, let me point something out to you because it's very easily overlooked. So as a recap, I've rented this camper van for a couple of weeks in lieu of my Great Divide Trail through hike. I didn't really have a lot of stuff because everything that I had was really in my backpack. So I kind of spread my stuff pretty much everywhere, including my food. So for the most part, I've put all my dehydrated meals up here and a few snacks. And you'll notice that this cabinet is, for the most part, completely sealed in, right? So you don't see any outer wall, or you don't see any other means of getting into the rest of the chassis of the vehicle. However, in the middle of the night last night, I could swear I heard something munching away at something, but despite opening up all the cabinets, I couldn't find it until today. So today I went into my snack drawer to get some snacks for my hike today, and I discovered something. So here's my snack drawer, and at first you think, oh, no big deal, right? But if you pull the drawer out even further, so guess what you can see? You can see, now I'm probably assuming that this was done somewhat intentionally, that, you know, if you need repair, or, you know, you need to swap out a piece of equipment or gear or whatever, that this is done intentionally so that you can actually get to some of the componentry. But needless to say, something, and I'm sure it was something of a smaller, cute, but naughty nature, got into some of my food, as you can see. So, if you are designing with the cabinetry, you have a couple of choices. You either make all of your equipment and your lines, like your electrical lines, your plumbing and everything else, accessible from the exterior only, and kind of block everything else off, or, which is probably the more feasible of the two solutions, just put your food in something that doesn't have access to the outside of the vehicle. Just saying. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot more of those. So, hope you've enjoyed the review. Again, this is an unsponsored, unpaid promotion. Actually, it's not even a promotion. I really just wanted to give you guys an idea as to what one of these vehicles actually look like on the inside in case you are considering renting one. And also some ideas as to what may or may not work for you if you're looking to do your own build. Like I said, I think there's a lot of wasted space in here, even for two people. It's just, I think there could be so much more accomplished in this particular space. I really actually wanted to get one of those conversion vans, and the one thing I will say about this particular vehicle is it is a gas guzzler. So even if the conversion van was to be a little bit more money for the rental itself, I probably would have made that up in fuel savings easily. So something else to consider. Anyways, folks, like I said, I think that's really it. Hope you've enjoyed the review. You'll be seeing more of me and this RV/camper in future videos as I continue my exploration of Alberta and BC while I'm on vacation. Again, any questions, concerns, comments, leave those in the comment section below. I'll leave some links in the video description for you as well. And of course, hit that like, subscribe, and that bell. It'll really help me and the channel out tremendously. Thanks in advance. Thank you for watching. Thanks for following along. Hope to see you out there. Till then.